All right. I want to DJ kidogo too. As you speed date, I want to urge you to get the conversation going online. Get the conversation going online, ladies and gentlemen. You know, I repeat, our hashtag is hashtag People Dialogue Festival. Hashtag People Dialogue Festival. So yesterday we were trending at number 13 at some point. At some point we were trending at number 13. That is very good, by the way. We were trending at number 13 yesterday. We climbed up to number 11, but then we went down to number 20. So let us make us trend today top 5, maybe number 5. Okay? So hashtag is People Dialogue Festival. That is a hashtag. When you are on Twitter, remember to tag at CMD Kenya. On Facebook, we are transmitting live on the following pages. There are 2 pages. The first page is the People Dialogue Festival. That is the first page. So if you go to Facebook, share that page, and so that your friends can see it on their timelines. The other page that we are on, we are on the Center for Multi-Party Democracy Kenya. That is another page that we are airing on Facebook. So let us make this trend on Instagram as well. The hashtag is People Dialogue Festival. Post the pictures, tag the hashtag, tag at CMD Kenya, so that we get this conversation going even online. Asanteni sana. I don't see people moving. People networking. Let us do it. Asanteni sana. Karibu.
Inauma hii side ya left ya chest, naomba boxes zingine za handkerchief. Machozi ligeuza mchanga matope penye umerest. Hisi WhatsApp group unaweza rudi ukileft. Waliwakata mabawa usifly again. Clouds ni grey, nguo ni black, macho ni red, colors za pain. It takes a long day, kujua life ni short, life haina remote. Unaweza fast forward ama rewind to a happier episode. Machozi ya jana haigandi, tutapanguza na furaha ya justice. The truth awe, matuko nawe, lala salama, matuko nawe. The ya mapenzi ya Mungu. Ukweli ni roza statue ndani ya watu, sababu seriousness ya poisonous snake. Tusipuuze ka cuteness ya pet. Kwa mkono mngekimbilia ndio muliangamia, hamkunuia mlo waliwaandalia. Sound ya glass ya champagne ikigonga cheers, impunity ikicelebrate. Itatizwe na sauti ya nyundo kwa court wakiface judgment. Iwe funzo kwa wenye tabia kama hiyo. Mwizi wa uhai hukumu usiwe kuchunwa sikio. Tuko awe, tuko nawe. Lala salama. Tuko nawe, tuko awe. Tapatana machozi ya jana. Ewe Mungu wajua njia zangu yatengeze, yale siwezi yasongeze. Wewe ndiye nguvu ya wanyonge. Ewe Mungu wajua njia zangu yatengeze, yale siwezi yasongeze. Wewe ndiye nguvu ya wanyonge. Nalilia yatima wajane kama hana maspouse. Damu crime for justice itaran kamaji kwa fereji State House. More than hashtags, placards, si weta tu ndio waingie behind bars. Enough is enough. Ujuzi ya nasa isaidi ndani ya hasa. Usiblame good for destination. Kichwa ilipatia direction. Tuko awe, tuko nawe. Lala salama. Tuko nawe. Tuko awe. Matana machozi ya jana. Tuko awe. Tuko nawe. Lala salama. Tuko nawe. Tuko awe. Tapatana machozi ya jana.
Watu kitu kidogo, Shifo kitu kikubwa. Mokola anataka kitu yote. What am I supposed to do? Kitu gani hii? Imekuwa sio lami ni saba. Nothing is no longer working. Nataka kulipa biro ya simu, account antiko lunch break until prompted otherwise. You know I tend to what? I cannot believe it. Polisi kitu kidogo, mtu ya simu kitu kidogo. Hii zitikajo watu kitu kidogo. Shifo kitu kikubwa. Mokola anataka kitu yote. What am I supposed to do? Kitu gani hii?
Alisema hakuna cha bure, huo msemo tumeutafsiri kinyume. Hata shule kuingiza mtoto lazima utoe mchoto. Kupata simu ni bala, road license bei nafuu utanunua. Kupoteza ID ni mashaka, twarudisha jamhuri yetu nyuma. Nchi ya kitu kidogo, ni nchi ya watu wadogo. Ukitaka chai ewe ndugu, nenda Limuru. Hata nyumbani ukipatwa na majambazi, kupiga 99 masema sisi hatuna gari. Lete 5,000 ya petroli, saidia utumishi. Mahakamani hela ndiyo haki, kwa 3,000 mshtakiwa ndiwe mshtaki. Utajiri huwa ushahidi, twarudisha jamhuri yetu nyuma. Jamani, nchi mashiti za uzwa marikiti 100 kwa 100. Wafanyi kazi waenda miezi bila pesa, ni bahati ukitibiwa. Mzigo wetu unazidi kuwa mzito, watoto wane na mshahara wa 2500 ya vitabu na viatu na vyakula. Nauliza na mbotela, nehuni ubana. Nchi ya kitu kidogo, nchi ya watu wadogo. Nitaka chai yewe ndugu, nenda ni Mungu. Nchi ya kitu kidogo, nchi ya watu wadogo. Nitaka chai yewe mama, nunua ketepa.
Je. All right. All right. Sawa. Sawa. Okay. All right. I am being informed that we are waiting for some of our panelists who are on their way. You know, Nairobi. Ambia mwenzako Nairobi. Nairobi. So, since you guys find it difficult to speed date, let me do this. Number one, I date myself. I have the following announcement. Number one, young people. I see a lot of young people here. Basically, this dialogue is about, it targets mostly young people. So young people, you are at the right place. And remember, young people, you're being urged to read a lot. There's a lot of material to read from CMD. There's a lot of material to read from Siasa Place. Siasa Place is basically a place for siasa, for young people. So make sure you go to the Siasa Place tent. Young people, this is very important because they have programs that have been tailor-made for young people. They are young people responsive kind of programs. So young people, make sure you go to the Siasa Place corner, okay? They have a wall there, they're calling it a political wall. Go and get to see what happens there. It's about engaging in the politics of our country and moving forward. As I said, there are a lot of books. You know, you cannot have a conversation, a meaningful one, if you do not read. So we are urged to read, get books. The books are free of charge. So vijana, tafadhali tuchukueni vitabu tusome. Tusipende tu Facebook na Instagram ni poa, lakini pia tusome. Sawa? Buda unaitwa nani? Simama. There's a camera there. We're transmitting live. So let me date people. If you guys don't want to date yourselves, what's your name, bro?
Good morning.
Good morning, guys. Nini?
Changamkeni. My name is Duncan Joga. I work with the Office of the Registrar of Political Parties.
Okay, there are very many young people here who maybe are hearing for the first time Office of the Registrar of Political Parties. In a nutshell, what do you guys do? What are you guys? Are you government? Are you NGO? I mean, nyinyi ni watu wa gani? Ni mnyama gani hii RPP?
Office of the Registrar of Political Parties, it's a state office that registers, regulates, and of course regulates the political parties. We also administer the political party funds. And
so nyinyi mnapatia ODM pesa?
Yeah, ni sisi.
Na nyinyi mnanyima PDP? No, it's okay. So sema hiyo kitu yote umesema kwa Kiswahili. No, it's fine. Madam, simama. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
What's your name?
Nelly Ogutu.
Nelly Ogutu, where are you from? What did you come to do at the People Dialogue Festival, apart from having dialogue?
Mostly converse with the young people on political issues and just be enlightened politically.
So basically what do you do? What Kenya unatusaidia aje?
I work with IMC. I'm in the finance and accounting department.
IMC. IMC is Institute of Mass Service.
No, International Medical Crew.
National Medical Crew. Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. I'm going to get, let me go to ma'am. Hi.
Hi,
Please stand up. What's your name? Where are you from?
my name is Kin Dezin Mien, but you can call me Dezin, my middle name, and I'm from a country called Myanmar.
Oh, you're from Myanmar. Good. You're many?
Yes.
If you're from Myanmar,
Please raise your hand.
please stand so people see you. If you're from Myanmar, even just stand up so that people see you. Please let us clap for people from Myanmar. This is the country of Aung Suchi. Yeah? Aung, that name, just say it.
Aung San Suu Kyi.
That name. Thank you very much for coming. So what do you do? What do you do? Just come back on Sunday so that the shot gets you well. What do you do in Myanmar?
Well, we have a political party support program in Myanmar. Well, first of all, I work for the Danish Institute for Parties and Democracy program in Myanmar. I am the country representative. Today, I have brought 5-member cross-party delegation member from Myanmar, which include the ruling party, the opposition party, and also the ethnic political party, which represent the 5 biggest parliamentary parties in Myanmar.
All right. Now, of course, the burning question, or rather my burning question would be, what is your work doing for the Rohingya?
Oh.
Are you in any way? Yeah, we know about it. Like really. Rohingya. Is it Rohingya or Rohingya? Whatever. What are you guys working on it? What are you doing about it?
Well,
Or is there anybody in your delegation who is directly working on that so that we just get a feel of what is happening?
Well, first of all, the IBD Myanmar program, we are a political party support program, and we work with the political party across political spectrums, which includes different political party. And of course, we work with the political party in Rakhine State. You mentioned about the Rohingya issue. Rohingya is one of the group, the people of that live in northern Rakhine. And in my delegations, we have 1 members who is a native of Rakhine. So maybe he can have a say on this regard. But in terms of our programming in Myanmar, we are working with the political party on a number of issues, including promoting the participation of women and youth in politics, promoting multi-party dialogue, promoting the participation of political party in the electoral process. So that's what we are doing in Myanmar.
All right, thank you very much. As you just stand up, my brother, as you speak about Rohingya and the issue at Rakhine State, I want you also to speak about, you're talking about multi-party democracy, vis-a-vis what we know about the what has been going on in Myanmar, the military, that, you know, we know that Aung San Suu Kyi is a president, is a party leader. Her party is in the government, but the military is still. Yes, so just talk about that as you talk about the issue at Rakhine State. In the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, Mama Martha Karua is in the building. We will be having her here shortly. So we're transmitting live on Facebook, so you'll give your face to the camera.
Thank you so much for giving me a chance to talk about a little bit of my country. But this is not a positive history, but it will take a long time to cover all the historical context and what is happening for the time being, to particularly to a group of people called Rohingyas in Rakhine State. And now, for the time being, actually this is the legacy of the more than 30 years of military regime in our country. And for the time being, our country has been only in the transition for 8 years, starting from 2010 elections, which is actually military-driven elections, and we have still 2008 constitutions drafted by the military. So now in 2015, we have another party called National League for Democracy, but this is not, this is a ruling party. There will be a gentleman that he will going to talk about, the inclusiveness in democracy in the, shortly. So in this time of government, I think constitutionally the military still have power and influence in three biggest, ministry, like Interior Ministry and Ministry of Defense and Ministry of Border Affairs and Security. So through the interior ministries, they have been influenced a lot on administrative process, and also I think the NLD, the ruling party, have a limited space to maneuver, bring in the country to a betterment of the country. They have been also struggling for that. But go back to the Rohingya issues. I think it's very controversial historically, but actually there is a Muslim community. This is actually my state. Actually, I am from a regional political party called Arkan National Party. I'm there representing my party as a Central Executive Committee member. So we are, for example, we are also a winning party in our state. But we are not allowed to form our own government according to the Constitution, Article 261. So the chief minister is appointed by the presidents, from the national level. So, but we are the majority in the parliament, but indeed we don't have power, to manage over on Rohingya issues as well. So that the hands behind the curtain is mostly with the military, frankly speaking, and maybe NLD is also trying to maneuver and also muddling through the issues to accept those Rohingyas who has been, fled to the Bangladesh. But there is a long history that why they have been like that. But actually, in Rakhine State, there are two communities, Arkanis, ourselves, and we are Buddhist. But they are Muslim. But there is no divisions in the past. We have economically interdependent to each other. We went to school together because I was raised in the borderline area called Mongdo, because I have a lot of Muslim friends, good friends. But 20 years later, because of the political complications and manipulations by the successive military regime, I would say, the things becomes complicated. And there is an important thing that the divisions and oppressions by military regime is not only over the Rohingyas people, but also to Rakhine people as well. But, for example, we used to have be suppressed by the military regime for more than 70 years in Rakhine State. But unfortunately, we don't have any advocacy internationally on behalf of our people like Arkan. But we are the same, oppressed people. Actually, Rohingya peoples are double oppressed because, they have been limited within the Rakhine State. They are not allowed to freedom access to the other part of the country. This is a military policy. This is not our Arkanese policy. And our ANP party, although we have majority in the parliament right now, according to the constitution limitations, we are never being thought as a dialogue partner in our country by the, nationwide political party, frankly speaking. So, and then neither the military government. That is why we don't have any, space to have the view on handling these issues. So it's a long history. So thank you so much. If you have questions, I'm ready to answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And, it's a struggle everywhere, ladies and gentlemen, this politics thing. So let's give let's give Myanmar some love. Everybody lift up your hands and do Igwe, receive the love. Stand up and receive the love. Stand up. Everybody say Igwe. Igwe. We have given them a lot of love. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be starting in a short while, but I want to get, a feel of across the divide. Let me have guys from Denmark. Denmark? Denmark. Before just Mama Matakarwa comes in, Denmark. Please, the reason why I'm selecting Denmark is they have a 170-year-old democracy, right? Over 170 years old. They must know something. Okay? So, we will be starting shortly. I'm told Mama Martha Karua is coming in. So I'll get back to you later in our breaks. So ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome Honorable Mama Martha Karua, party leader of NARC Kenya. Karibu sana Mama. Karibu sana, have a seat. Karibuni sana. Welcome very, very, very much. Welcome. So ladies and gentlemen, we have our keynote address speaker. We have so we're going to kick off this very, very quickly. We're going to pray. Let's today's International Women's Day. International Women's Wamama hoye! Wamama hoye! Wapi vigelegele na ngemi? Hiyo ni one. Another one? Two. Another one? Sio imetosha. Oh, four. Ingine? All right. Welcome to day 2 of the People Dialogue Festival. Ladies and gentlemen, we are celebrating the International Women's Day today, the whole day, up to in the night. We'll be crowning this day with a great performance from the one and only Nyota Ndogo in the evening at the amphitheater. So you don't want to miss. Nyota Ndogo has made her way all the way from Mombasa to join us here to celebrate the International Women's Day. So ladies and gentlemen, make a date and don't be late. I'm going to call upon, this I'm going to do randomly. Okay? Randomly. My sister, good to see you. Can you pray for us? Can you open with a word of prayer for us? You're not feeling well. Let's have a prayer from you. She's not feeling well. Okay, tuombe.
Hello, my name's Anneli from CCU. Let's pray. Oh God, we thank you for this day. As we are going to start our festival, guide us and protect us. We welcome everyone to this festival. In Jesus' name I do pray and believe. Amen.
Oh, she deserves a clap, eh? Mpigieni makofi. All right, before I call Namatsi, if you can hear me, before she comes up on stage for a poem, I'm just going to go through a raft of quick announcements. Number one, as I said, you have the program in your hand. We have changed some of the items, taken them to some other venues. Please look out for that. The most important one, at 12:30 to 1:30, we should be having an event. It's written at the amphitheater, but we've moved it to the courtyard theater. All right? That and the event that is supposed to be at 4:30 p.m. will be back to back. The open mic session moderated by Kawivi Wambua will be back to back at the courtyard. All right? And I would like to repeat and tell you that we are live on Facebook on the page The People Dialogue Festival, and also on the page Center for Multi-Party Democracy. So go to Facebook, ladies and gentlemen, share that page so that your friends can see it on your timeline. On Twitter and on all social media pages, we're trending with the hashtag People Dialogue Festival. All right, so the hashtag is People Dialogue Festival. When you take photographs, when you write things, please tag hashtag People Dialogue Festival and tag at CMD Kenya. Follow at CMD Kenya. My name is Papi Odek, at Papi Odek. You can follow me on Twitter and on all social media pages. At Papi Odek, I'll be your host for the day and up to the end of the festival. Now, I'm going to call upon Mora. Mora is going to cut and raise for Namatsi. So, Mora, if you can make your way up the stage, please. And this is a dialogue. It's not a top-down kind of dialogue. It's, horizontal. We are here with our leaders. We ask questions without hindrances. We have Mama Martha here. If you have a question, ask her, and all other questions that you have. So let's have the performances from Mora and then from Namatsi. Tumkaribishe Moraa tafadhali. Asante.
Mbelenu ni Elizabeth Moraa Gabriel, niko tayari kwa karia shairi juu ya wamama. Naomba mama yetu Madhagarua usikize kwa makini. Mshort lakini danger. Asante sana Maulana kwa kunipa mama, yote aliyonifanyia, kama si mama siwezi. Mbona Mola uniache umchukue mama? Mama ni jambo la muhimu, wananchi musikize. Mama napoishi na mtoto yote anamfanyia, lakini baba akienda mama kambo anaingia. Mama ni jambo muhimu, tena mwenye amekulea. Heshimu mama kwa yote aliyokufanyia. Bora mama asile, lakini mtoto ale. Bora mama sivae, lakini mtoto avae. Bora mama ashinde, lakini mtoto asishinde. Yote kwa mtoto yanatokana na mama. Ninapolala kitandani sina bedsheet ya kujifunikia. Bora mama akose, lakini mtoto ajifunike. Tunapotusiwa mama, watoto hatuheshimiki. Maulana alipokupea mama, umheshimu mama. Beti la mwisho ninasema, mama ni jambo muhimu. Unapogonjeka afadhali mama chekazi, lakini hudumie mtoto kwa yote aliyokufanyia. Alikubeba miezi 9 kwa ajili yako. Heshimu mama uweze kuishi. Asanteni.
Wow, wow. That is awesome. Thank you very much. For those who do not understand our French, basically what that French means is that let us respect our mothers, and by extension, of course, women, because, you know, they take care of us. Women birth us. Women, a mother will kujinyima kwa kizungu ni? I knew that. I was testing you guys. Actually the accent. A mother will jinyima. Okay, a mother will deny herself and make sure that the babies are provided for. So let us give a very big round of applause to the mothers and the women. Right about now, I want to invite Namatsi, another lady poet. Karibu sana Namatsi. As she takes to the stage, the reason why we're using a lot of poetry in this festival is because, you know, we need to think deeply about the kind of engagements that we are having, all right? And poems do that for us. And this is a festival, so basically we have the people, we'll have the dialogue, we must have the performances to make it a festival. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Namatsi.
Morning. How are you today? It's such an honor to meet you, Mother Karawa. I speak for the trees and the animals of the sea and the air in your lungs. My name is Namatsi Lukoy. I'm a spoken word artist and a poet. I have 2 poems for now. I have later another set of poetry. I want to perform first for the women because it's the Women's Day. I am the breath that you cannot take and still. I am the life that you cannot take or steal. I am the skill, the potential, the art you're living, the hip hop, the poem, and the song you're singing. I am the place that you cannot reach. And again, I am the sermon that you cannot preach to the man. I am a queen, a kadanke. I am royalty. A warrior, a soldier. I am royalty. Welcome home. Welcome to the kingdom of earth. Revealing, sparkling, and shimmering a myriad of kingdoms of beauty and wonder. Welcome home. And hail the great Makeda. It's her light, the spark in her eyes. It's her warmth. It's her feet and the strength they have that makes us stand when the world shakes. Na malkia unaweza, una almasi miguuni. Ngozi ni ya kutesa, asubuhi hata jioni. Na malkia ukisonga, waitisha hata ardhi. Welcome to my home. Home, where the heart is, where the warmth is. And hail a queen. Hail the great Nziga, queen of Matamba. It's her might. Oh, she is a mountain, a flowing river that souls confide in. Highly melanated, shaped with pride. She takes no less. She knows her place and she rules it right. Na malkia unaweza, una ngozi ya kutesa. Almasi miguuni, asubuhi hata jioni. Na malkia ukisonga waitisha hata ardhi. Home. You see, in the country of the colored gods, in the lands of kings and queens, warriors who frighten lions with just spears back to dance, there is a king. Hail the great Hannibal. Let the Spaniards and Romans fall. Yes, this is Africa. 80,000 infantry, 12,000 cavalry, and 40 African war elephants. Let me school you now. Na mfalme unaweza, una almasi mguuni. Ngozi ni ya kutesa, asubuhi hata jioni. Na mfalme ukisonga, waitisha hata ardhi. Let me take you home. Where the heart is, where the laugh is. Home to Africa. Hail the great Mansa Monsa, and let the walls of Timbuktu honor your name. Gold in your veins, poetry in your blood, the winner of hearts. Na mfalme unaweza, una ngozi ya kutesa. Almasi miguuni, asubuhi hata jioni. Na mfalme ukisonga, waitisha hata ardhi. Hail this queen, hail this king. Now tell me something. Have you seen a king or queen? Do I show you a king or queen? Well, look to your right, then look to your left. Hail royalty, whose name may not be known or not mentioned at all. Na kweli mumeweza.
I can tell you. Oh, kuna ingine?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Acha nitulie.
Tulia kidogo.
Acha niache kiherehere.
So this being a dialogue, when politics yields politricks, you tricked and you trick, you cheat and you please, you cheat as you lead and you lead as you please. Usiku unakuwa nyoka, mchana unakuwa shoka. Tumekusoma, tumekujua, ni kura twajua waomba. And each time we point fingers at our politicians, 3 fingers are pointing back. We put you in power. I put you in power. We put you in power. So I refuse to be silent. I refuse to be silent. They say speak even when your voice shakes. Speak, let them know like seeds we will grow. I am black magic. That is tragic. Mind driving havoc, well, that is drastic. Mau Mau classic, I'm a rebel causing panic. Bury me alive like they did at committee, and my spirit will rise, crying victory. It's like these leaders ain't here to serve. Wamekam tu kunona. Cheki utambi na mifuko vile huwa zimefura. Next election I'll pass. Kamse wa Barcelona, jusio ni haja ya mi kupanga line kupiga kura. Tunashinda tukivote, nikatu mechizi. Nikatu tambui form nufisadi wa wizi. It's my time to eat. Put that on my plate. And by the time we learn from it, it's already too late. And 5 years later, we repeat the same mistake, vote against the trouble lines, and my heart this really breaks. Each time we point at the politicians, 3 fingers are pointing back. We put you in power, we put you in power, we put you in power, I put you in power. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Namatsi. Each time you point at a politician, 3 fingers point back at you, isn't it? Because the power is actually with you, you put them in power. Now, I want to invite the chairman of CMD, the Honorable Domingo Magara, to welcome us for this day 2, and welcome also Mama Martha Karua. Karibu sana.
Hello, good morning. Hamjambo for our guests, hamjambo wageni. Karibu Kenya. These guys are already in school and they have graduated. Eh? You remember our song? Tunapenda? Tunapenda? Hi, 1, 2, 3. Tunapenda? 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 Kenya. Karibu. Welcome to day 2 of our People's Dialogue Festival. And on behalf of the board members of CMD, party members who I'm proud to be associated with, great people who made it happen. And we are here because they are hospitable. And we want to engage now. Today, I want us to appreciate our mothers. How many of you here have got mothers? Raise your hand, please. I was going to be surprised. You may not necessarily know your father, but your mother certainly is known. Hallelujah. Yes, mothers are special. We love you all. We also want to take this opportunity now to ask ourselves big and hard questions. And there's nobody who's going to help us ask those questions and seek clear answers. None other than a wonderful lady called Martha Karua. Martha Karua is a lady I have known for quite a while. We were together in Parliament in our early days when we were younger. Not that I'm too old now yet. But she is one of the most vibrant politicians. She actually focuses on the ball. When she fixes her eyes on the ball, sorry, please give up, because she'll touch that particular target. And she's also one of the first women presidential candidate in this republic. She leads a very big party of about the age of PDP called CMD Kenya. The symbol is a flower. And she has been a minister in government, constitutional affairs. She has been, actually the reforms we have had in this country, they happened when she was in the opposition. And she has walked a long journey that she will help us understand and perhaps mentor our young women that it is not about where you were born to get space. You must create your space. And please, our ladies, don't expect tokenism. Go for it, because it's available for us all. We are equal in the eyes of a true living God. Amen. Put your hands together to receive Madam Martha Karua, a great lady. The floor is yours, my sister. And be happy, enjoy. You know, we have guests from a big delegation from Nepal. The second largest delegation from Nepal. The largest delegation from Burkina Faso. Second largest is from Nepal. The third largest is from Myanmar. The fourth largest is from Denmark. But please read in reverse order.
Good morning, everyone. All protocols observed. It's the easier way to do things. It is a great honor and pleasure to be here this morning. I've been complaining that I haven't seen anything about the People's Dialogue Festival on the mainstream media, but I've been assured that if I went, by Franklin, that if I went to YouTube and to social media, the number of hits exceed. Okay, I've been asked to try and increase my height, which I will do gladly. Podiums are not friendly to those who are vertically challenged because they're made for people who have no such challenges. So what I'm saying is that I was assured that on social media, on digital media, the festival has been greatly publicized. It's an honor to be asked to speak on the International Women's Day, and especially when the topic is inclusion, because women are the excluded majority in many parts of the world, and we are seeking to be in the mainstream of everything, of politics, of the economy, social life, cultural matters, and everywhere. So it's a great day to be speaking, and happy International Women's Day to all women in the room and to all honorary women. Men who support women and who are feminists, we give them the highest honor in Kenya, and that is we give them the title honorary women. So if you're a feminist and you're in the room, consider yourself an honorary woman for today. I've been asked to speak about inclusive democracy, and my remarks will have a Kenyan bias because we can only share the experiences that we know best. I was trying to wonder what inclusive democracy is. And you know, anytime you want to know something, there is Wikipedia. And when I was in Wikipedia, I stumbled on the Quora platform, which describes inclusive democracy as a project that aims or that synthesizes the democracy as we know it, direct democracy, and socialist notions. So it's a fusion of the direct democracy and some socialist traits. That is my understanding of inclusive democracy. Democracy, as we know it before, creates the concentration of power in a few elites and is designed to be exclusionary. So that although we are calling it government by the people, for the people, by the people, and for the people, what ends up is that the majority are excluded from the mainstream political and economic activities, in decision making, let's say so. And in Kenya, our struggle for a new constitution or for the second liberation was informed by the need to end exclusion, by the need to be included, to be part of things that matter to us, to be part of decision making, and to be able to effectively participate in the mainstream politics, mainstream economics, mainstream social affairs. And this exclusion affects mainly the poor, the marginalized, women, youth. And I'm calling women and youth the excluded majority, because in any country, the youth, and especially in the developing world and in Kenya, the youth are definitely the majority. Yet, they are excluded in the mainstream decision making. Women are the majority. Women are slightly over 51%, almost 52% in this country. Yet, they are still, I'm saying still because we are in a new dispensation, still excluded from mainstream decision making. If you look at the political parties, I think currently only about 3 or 4, because I'm told there is a new political party with a woman head, that are headed by women. This is out of about close to 70 political parties. If you look at the composition of government, it is dominated by men. If you look at the parastatals, cabinet, if you look at the apex court, it's a man's world. So most of the revolutions have been about inclusion in history. It's all about exclusion, and exclusion brings marginalization. It also brings poverty, suffering, and injustice. So inclusion is about bringing social justice, making sure that everything that is done through a lens of social justice. The Kenyan Constitution is informed by the need for inclusion. And I want to remind us Kenyans and to inform our visiting friends that the very first article in our Constitution gives supremacy to the people, so that every other power to institutions or to individuals is donated by the people. If you look at the design of our Constitution, it's designed to create or to give birth to an inclusive society. I was going through it and I saw that in Article 10, it proclaims the sovereign power belongs to the people and to be exercised either directly or through elected representatives. Therefore, it is the people of Kenya who dominate power, as I have said, to the extent possible. In Article 10, the principles of governance, they again bring notions of inclusion, talking about inclusiveness, participation by the people. It brings in the issues of human dignity, equity, social justice, human rights, non-discrimination, and protection of the marginalized. And these are all ingredients of what an inclusive society should look like. If you go further, we have in Article 169 that says judicial authority is derived from the people, which ought to inform the judges and magistrates when they are making their decisions that the people's interests should be paramount in every decision they make. The question is whether this has translated into consciousness by the judiciary that it is the people's interests that should be very much foremost in their decision making. That even if a person accused of murder applies for bail, they should be balancing the people's interests against the interest of the suspect. And when you don't balance, you cause injustice. I was also looking at, and it's not just the judiciary, legislative authority. The legislature derives its power from the people, and that is expressly stated in the Constitution. And the fact that the people in Parliament are elected by the people is also a given that it is the people who are donating their power to them. And it is the same thing to people in the public service. The chapter on leadership and integrity, chapter 6, says that leadership in the public service is a trust on behalf of the people. So their actions, again, should be centered on the people. So as I was looking at inclusive democracy, I came across this notion that inclusive democracy is grounded on the conscious choice of its citizens for autonomy, not on dogma. Religion or irrational systems which rule out questioning about the foundations of these beliefs as the cornerstone of democracy. So it's based on people's conscious choice, people being able to question or hold leaders to account, and people participating in decision making. And I think that we should ask ourselves, especially those of us who are hosts today, Kenyans. We got our constitution in 2010, after 2 decades of struggle, informed by the need for inclusion and designed to make inclusion a reality. Is our society inclusive today? I will say we have made important strides. There's been devolution of power and finances to 47 centers, because we have 47 counties in Kenya, each county being headed by a governor and having a semi-autonomous government. So yes, we have devolved power and resources, and therefore people ideally have the power to prioritize their needs nearer where they live, at the county level. Has this translated into consciousness of the citizen to be able to hold the leaders to account? Has it translated to gender inclusion, to inclusion of the youth, to an end to marginalization? And I think we all know that baby steps have been taken, but a lot remains to be done. Auditing the counties on gender inclusion, while working on a case that NAC Kenya has filed to demand for its share on gender top-up on MCAs, we realized that out of the 47 counties, only 7 counties are compliant in terms of gender representation in the county assemblies. What do I mean? Article 81, Article 27, and Article 177 are all saying not more than 2/3 of any gender should be in the elected and appointed bodies. So in the county assemblies, its composition should reflect that no more than 2/3 of any gender is represented. That means the underrepresented gender must be at least 1/3. The underrepresented gender is women, is the female gender. And when you look at the county assemblies, you have to do maths, simple maths, that what is 1/3 of 100%? It is 33.666, an endless 6. Since you cannot have people in portions, to satisfy this rule, the 0.3 has to be rounded up to 4. Why? If you cut out the 0.3, the composition will not be. The composition of the men will surpass the 2/3 limit, because the 2/3 is 67.6. If you give the 3 to the 67, automatically they go before the 2/3. The law does not say that the underrepresented gender cannot surpass 1/3. It just forbids the overrepresented gender from being more than 2/3. So the logical thing is to round up the lower figure to 34%, the minimum, and leave the upper figure at 66. Are we together? So doing that math, simple math, you will find that perhaps in your home county, or even in Nairobi County if you reside here, that the county assembly is not compliant with the gender rule. Most of them have 28, 31%. A few have surpassed and are at 40. A few of the 7 I mentioned are compliant. And those compliant, I can't remember, I didn't note them down, but one of them, some of them are in the marginal areas, but generally it shows that our electoral commission, our gender commission, and us included, the political parties, we have been asleep on the issue of inclusiveness. It's all right to get a constitution that is designed to bring inclusiveness, but implementation is my business, it's your business. We are sleeping on the job as political parties. As youth, we are sleeping on the job. As women, we are sleeping on the job. Although we have been agitating for the 2/3 gender rule in Parliament, we have not collectively sat down to see whether the county assemblies are as inclusive as the Constitution demanded. We assumed, because we have been given slots for gender top-up, that all is well. All is not well, and we need to check. We also need to audit, are our assemblies inclusive as far as the youth are concerned? And it's not just the county assembly itself. There are appointive positions. Are the county governments inclusive? We need to check again. Are they having at least 34 as the minimum for the excluded gender, and that is female? Are they having youth in their composition? Do they have people with disabilities? What is the composition of the governments in our counties? At least I know that for the national government, it is unconstitutional because it does not have 34% of women. And it is the last government and this government. So the Jubilee administration has not managed, not once, to fulfill the gender rule when it comes to appointments in cabinet. What about our apex court, the Supreme Court? The Supreme Court, which is the supreme authority on interpretation of the Constitution, is by its very composition unconstitutional. Did you know that? It has 2 women out of 7 judges. Do your math and you will see they fall below the constitutional threshold. The minimum that court can have of any gender, whether it's a man or women, is 3 to 4. It cannot have 2 to 5. That will be unconstitutional. Currently, the women are underrepresented. Therefore, the women have to be increased to 3 for that court to be an authoritative voice on matters constitution. And they ought to have noticed that. We need to check also whether other organs, the boards, we know the boards are dominated by men. We know most of the constitutional commissions are also not compliant, yet they are constitutional commissions. They don't do the appointment, but at least they could do themselves a favor to draw to the attention of the appointing authority that the composition is unconstitutional. And this job, I want to say, belongs to both men and women. Why should we root for inclusion? Because today, you will think it's a women's affair. And you will even say women are complaining too much, yet room has been given. Tomorrow it will be you. I saw the youth the other day protesting appointment of one of our veterans whom we respect very much to manage youth affairs at beyond the octogenarian age. The problem is not with the person appointed. The problem is with the appointing authority, isn't it? And we have to call them out and say this is unacceptable. So the youth, both male and female, should be in the forefront of fighting for gender equality, fighting for full inclusion, so that it's not only on basis of gender, it's also for the youth, it's for the marginalized, it's for people with disability. We want an inclusive society, and the moment you allow one section of the Constitution to be trashed, it will also be trashed in your respect. I was telling the media some time back that they ought to be in the forefront of creating awareness and pushing for the implementation on the Constitution on gender issues. And I told them that if they fail to do so thinking it's a women's affair, the next people to suffer will be the media in matters of media freedom. Haven't we heard them complain from time and again? I'm therefore proposing that as political parties, we should be sensitizing the people that we must stand for full implementation of the Constitution and our laws, irrespective of who we think will benefit. Because if you trash one part, you will trash also the part that matters to you. In other words, if you do not stand for the human rights of your neighbor, tomorrow you are laying a foundation for the violation of your very rights. I like the two poets, spoken word poets who went before me, and especially the one who started first had a poem about the mothers. Alisema ni mfupi lakini hatari, na nakubali ni hatari. Both of them were very much on point. But the first one sang in praise of a mother. I think to appreciate women fully, we need, or to appreciate the female gender, everybody needs to return their mind to the family context. When you see the work mothers do, and when I say work, it's not considered work. The average person, you ask them, what does your mother do? If she's a housewife, you'll be saying she doesn't work. Is that true? She works. It's not paid work, but she works, perhaps harder than you all. But all of us say women don't work. And that simple reply stays in your mind. You will never value women's work. If you think your mother's work or your wife's work in the house is nothing, you have planted a seed in yourself where you'll never be able to appreciate the role women play. When calculating the GDP of our countries, women's care and domestic work, unpaid care and domestic work, is never included. Because those who are calculating, and the patriarchal system we are in, is given to ignoring women's contribution. So that a man who has his wife managing his businesses and managing the domestic front, if they quarrel and they want to divide those properties, he will be taking a Bible in court and saying, my wife never contributed. Ignoring the fact that she made a home for you, an enabling environment for you to be able to get out and work. Raised your children. The children belong to the two of you. So perhaps you should have been going to work one day and your wife goes the next day and you are left home looking after the children. But women are left at home. Their work is unrecognized and valued, yet it is of such value. Tell me, without women giving birth and caring for the children, where would the future generation of your household come from? Of the country come from? Where would the future labor force come from? Or future voters? You see? If you look at it that way, you will see that women are part and parcel of the development, not only of the family, but of the entire nation, of the world. You see? And these are the things that we must start taking into consideration. When earlier years, when I was running a law practice and I'm about to return, and I was doing family law, we used to have a very hard time in court convincing the court that a stay-home wife is entitled to have share of the matrimonial property. And I'll forever remember one case where a man told the court that his wife was at home looking after a disabled child. He didn't say my disabled child. Looking after her disabled child. And I remember one male judge who was very gender sensitive, Justice, the former Justice Richard Quach, shouting at this man and asking him, whose child is this? Whose pregnancy was that? And the man now getting back to reality and saying it was his child. It was his pregnancy. But in his mind, a woman looking after a disabled child and therefore unable to work, and she was a graduate just like him. According to him, she did not merit the share of the property. She was also looking after the farms, apart from looking after the children. But this is the reality. Even today, judges have overturned that good jurisprudence which we had before the 2010 Constitution. But during the era of a constitution that advocates for equality, judges, an overwhelmingly male bench, has overturned that ruling to say that you have to prove monetary contribution. Indirect contribution has been trashed. It is possible to prove monetary contribution because you can get somebody well-versed in money matters to value that work and give it an amount. But you see, if the judge is not seeing that contribution as a contribution, you will not get. What I want to say in short, we have a job to do to sensitize ourselves first, as individuals, as political parties, as the youth, as women, as men. And then the society can be sensitized and our institutions can respond responsibly to matters gender and can stop the oppression that is currently taking place on the women folk. When there is rape, sometimes the discussion is about what clothing the woman was wearing, not about the crime. If it has occurred at night, where was she going at night? She asks for it. Are women prisoners that they cannot move around as they please? And who gave men the license to be able to move at night and women not to be able to move? If there is a permit, where did our men folk get the permit? Because I would like to know where they got the permit so that I get mine. You see? We should advocate for a country and a world where both men and women can carry out their affairs and move around without a threat to violation of their bodily integrity. The same in the domestic front. How can we accept in this day and age that men can batter their wives? We really need to revisit, and I want to challenge the youth in the room. Youth mpo? Mpo? Simweke mikono juu nione kama nyinyi ndio wengi. Hey, we surrender, you are the majority. I once was a youth. I can only say that I consider myself very youthful at 61 plus. Because at the end of the year, I'll be turning 62. But I consider myself extremely youthful politically. I still have energy to give to my country, but I am not a youth. Let us also be very clear. Youth wako, youth iko na wenyewe. Si ni kweli? So I'll tell you and challenge you what I see for the youth. All these things we are saying, I think youth must be in the forefront of transformation of our country, of pushing for faithful implementation. The country belongs to you. I have told you I was once a youth. Before age 30, I was a politically active youth in the civil society movement, firstly at FIDA, with FIDA, as a member of FIDA. FIDA is Federation of Women Lawyers, International Federation of Women Lawyers, Kenya chapter. Secondly, with the ICJ, International Commission of Jurists, with the Law Society of Kenya. Then later we formed the League of Kenya Women Voters, a political lobby for women, totally political and unapologetic. Because the days we formed, it was not considered proper for women to be so political. I remember that two organizations advertised to say that their core business, two women's organizations, is only women, they are not political. Nobody had asked them. But they felt offended by us launching a movement that was purely political. So they distanced themselves from us. Luckily, later on, they came to their senses and they joined everybody else. But I'm trying to say, I want to challenge each youth to ask, how am I spending my youth? Today, you are the people who cannot get employment, isn't it? You are educated, you have training, but there are no jobs for you. You are the people who are starting families. When we have problems in the education system, when we have problems in the health system, when even water is becoming an issue in our cities, when security is an issue, you have a greater problem than my age. I have already finished educating my children. They are youth like you, so they are experiencing the same problems, employment and the like. You are the ones who must take the baton and move this country to the next level. We are going to be there behind you. We may not be out completely, but you must be at the center stage of ensuring things are done. And you cannot do it if you're going to have boundaries along party lines, along ethnic lines. Those are demarcations brought about to divide you, because the power of youth is something, it's insurmountable. But if we divide you, then we are able to disregard your numbers. Divided, you fall. United, you can move the world. Through history, it is the youth who drive the revolutions. The leaders of the revolution may be a little older, but majority of the people who get out to drive those revolutions will be the youth. Today in Kenya, we need a revolution. A revolution guided by our constitution, which we bargained and we have together. A revolution that will bring in gender inclusion. A revolution that will bring total inclusion so that youth are included. A revolution that will bring inclusion for everybody so that we are part of decision making. That revolution cannot occur if, as a youth, when you get an opportunity, you join the looting bandwagon. It cannot happen if the slightest opportunity you get, you start oppressing others. It has to be value-driven. Are we together, youth? In Kenyan politics, the worst scourge is money-driven politics, and that's what is with us now. And money-driven politics does not favor youth, because youth have not accumulated. A majority of them have not accumulated. You will never be able to compete with your grandfathers and your fathers and your mothers and grandmothers who have amassed. You see? But if the competition is a competition of ideas, of ideals, you will compete better than anybody else. When I ran for parliament first, I ran against my father. Not literally, but figuratively, because his age was my father's age. He was even slightly older. So the first rebuke I got is that this unmannered girl of Karoa who cannot respect elders. And I quietly told them, it is not dowry negotiations where you talk about my father. It is political competition. Address me directly as the candidate. Stop telling my father that he has not schooled me well to respect elders. You know? So I persisted and I won. But how did I win? Because though they gave money, I was just giving my dream of what I would do for the identifying the problems and saying how I can solve them. Gender was also against me. I was told that women are not elected in the area I come from. But I persisted, and it came to be. But if it was today, I want to say it would have been a little more difficult. Because people want, after you talk to them, even if you're talking sense, they want you to leave something. We only will get out of that the day a few youth, because revolution starts with a few, not with everybody, then it spreads. The day a few committed youth agree to go down to their counties, because the revolution will come a county at a time, a ward at a time. You go back and have a conversation with your fellow youth and say that what we are being given is cannot sustain us for the rest of our lives, but good governance can take us to another level and solve our problems. I'm therefore challenging political parties and especially the youth to take the lead in ensuring that our society becomes inclusive. And if the youth take the lead, because even in parliament these days, the youth are heavily represented. But sometimes when some of them speak, totally misguided. You cannot be speaking insulting women and we accept you as a progressive youth. We must start having a conversation, marking those people who are doing the things that are not supposed to be done, who are keeping us down, who are fighting inclusion, so that when the ballot comes, we do something about it. Tuko pamoja, youth. You must also make sure your political parties behave. You know, if there is rigging during nominations, it affects women and youth. Do you want a fair playing field, or do you want a lopsided one? Then those who are marginalized must join together. Youth, women, people with disabilities, all the marginalized. We fight within our parties to say no more rigging of party primaries, no more skewed party lists. There must be a criteria of how you put people on the party list. And also we must be in the forefront of fighting to change our political system. I want to say this as the last, because time is coming to an end. This is a topic that is endless. And I am saying we need to rethink the first past, the post system we have does not favor an inclusive system. The best system so far, when I look around, is the proportional representation, where you elect political parties and not individuals. That means you as a youth running, me as a woman running, you don't have to have money. It is your party which will conduct the campaign. You conduct the campaign jointly, you fight on the manifesto. Are we together? It also means that system is better for inclusiveness, because for gender, we can have the zebra. Woman, man, that way. And within that zebra, we can say every third slot is also for youth. Every fourth or fifth slot, depending on the percentages, is for disability. So the proportional representation, and I've seen this in South Africa and in the Scandinavian countries, favors in more inclusiveness than the first past the post. These are the discussions that I want to challenge the youth to take forward beyond this People's Dialogue Festival. There is a referendum looming. Are we leaving my age and those older than me to drive the referendum without you? You should be saying as youth, nothing about us without us. As women, we should be saying nothing about us without. Let us not be made voting machines. Let us consider seriously what is it that we need to change. Just as I see it, I must talk about graft. Graft is what is preventing you from having jobs. When money for dams is put in people's pockets, a lot of people would have gotten jobs, both professionals and non-skilled, on the projects. Whether it is a road or a dam or a hospital, you take money, you are eating my job. You are eating my medicine. You are eating my future. Are we together? Let us stop smiling at people who are looting or advocating for looting of our country. Are we together? Our values are upside down. We go defending people that mutu wetu. Mutu wetu akikunyonga, bado utakufa. And stealing from you may not be manual strangulation, but they are literally strangling you. Let us rethink. And I'm saying over to political parties, over to the youth, let us make inclusion, and over to women, let us make inclusion a reality in our society. Thank you.
Asante sana, Mama Martha Karua. Thank you very much. I know you just lit some fire in the belly of all of us. I know that the Honorable Ogindo wanted to engage you in something. Mheshimiwa, you will allow me to give you a chance later, all right? Honorable Ogindo is the party leader of Green Congress Party, all right? So Sarakasi dancers are coming up on stage. DJ, are you ready with their music? Please, just one item, and then we get to the panel. The panel will be moderated by none other than Ken Mijungu. As we clear the stage of the podium, please. I want to remind you that this is International Women's Day, and apart from that fiery start by the Honorable Martha Karua, we'll be winding this day by a performance from Nyota Ndogo. Wapi makofi ya Nyota Ndogo? So, wale ambao hawakuwa hapa jana, those who are not here, last night we had Macadam, and oh God, we had a good time. We danced into the night, you know, and we had a good time. For those who are not from Kenya, Nyota Ndogo is an amazing performer. You must come to the amphitheater tonight later on and enjoy the performance. Sarakasi are coming up on stage just so that we might let us get this podium off stage, please. Are you ready? I know that the panelists are all here, and I will be handing the microphone over to Ken Mijungu. So once Sarakasi are off, I don't think I will come back. Ken will be here. And I just want to remind you to keep the conversation going. Hashtag People Dialogue Festival. Facebook, the group is the People Dialogue Festival and the Center for Multi-Party Democracy. Get it going, take pictures. Let us have the conversation going. Ladies and gentlemen, the Sarakasi dancers with one piece, and then we get on with this.
Retour à la source. La musique congolaise, c'est la base.
Right. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Nataka breakfast. You know, that's how you know you're no longer a young person. Because if I tried that, my friend, I'll break into 7. Anyway, my name is Ken Mijungu. Thank you very much for attending the People's Dialogue Forum or Festival. I'm glad to see you. And I want to thank CMD for giving me this opportunity to stand before you. I'm glad to see Martha Karua. We are very good friends. You mentioned something, Chairman, about Martha Karua. You know, Martha Karua, for those of you who don't know, she's the only woman to walk out of 2 functions where a president is presiding. Do you remember that story? She just walked away, you know, just walked away like, who is this speaking? But she knows how to fight for her space. And that's exactly what she's talking to us about. We need to fight for our space as the youth, although I doubt if I'm a youth anymore. I'm youthful though. So my name is Ken Mijungu. I'm your moderator for this session, and I'm looking forward to having an interactive forum or session with everyone here. It will be more about you. It will be more about you asking questions and speaking. And Honorable Karua has been graceful enough to agree that she's going to stay with us. I see a lot of political parties leaders here who are also staying with us. We'll have an opportunity to speak also and ask the questions. And I want to take this opportunity. I had podiums for the vertically challenged. Luckily, I'm not. So I want to take this opportunity to welcome everyone to this session. The delegates from Denmark, where are you? Right, there's so many delegates. There are 4, so many. Oh, there's one right at the back. Okay, delegates from Poland? None? Okay, delegates from Burma, former Burma. They're all here. Burma, that's Myanmar. We have a Burma right here in the capital. Take an opportunity to visit the Kenyan Burma, right? You welcome them to Burma? You need to, because you'll go home with a story. We have a Burma right here. We're going to participate in this discussion in several ways. I have a panel that we are going to talk to. They're not going to come here, luckily. They're all seated here, and they're going to be helping us with this discussion. And we're discussing about achieving inclusive democracy in the country. And the question we are asking is, what are we doing about it? But first, before we get into that discussion, happy International Women's Day to all the women. Can I hear you shout? Hey, lakini wa mama, see, you can roast us, you know. Let me tell you a story before I begin. You know, I'm a journalist. I work with NTV. And by the way, the crew of NTV are here. They're live. So we're not only live on Facebook. Women can roast you. Who agrees? Who knows the story? Yeah? Women can roast you. See, some of you know the story. But power to women, right? And more power to our women, our mothers, our sisters, our nieces, our aunties, and every other woman, working woman and all. So power to you, and happy International Women's Day. So we're going to participate in this conversation through the hashtag People's Dialogue Festival. It's on Twitter. You can tweet, you can tag us, and then we can retweet some of them. And we are also participating through Mentimeter. We have a question that is coming up. It'll be put shortly. The question we're asking right at the top, democracy. Is there real democracy in Kenya? And Honorable Omingo Magara, Chair, is able to tell us if there's real democracy. So let me introduce my panel now. We have Ms. Caroline Oduor, an advocate and a board member for FIDA. Just wave so that they know Caroline Oduor. Thank you very much. Luckily, I'm not coming to FIDA for that story. Honorable Omingo Magara, the chairperson of the Center for Multi-Party Democracy. Mr. Chair, he's our host also. Thank you very much. Dr. Mayo Newts, the spokesperson, the Central Executive Committee member, National League for Democracy in Myanmar. He's right there. We have Dr. Thomas Odrago, Executive Director of the Center for Democracy Governance in Burkina Faso. Where is he? Oh, I have been to Ouagadougou. And one thing I noticed about Ouagadougou, that was many years ago, is there's a lot of places people sit during the day outside. They still do that. It's really hot. I was there. Thank you very much. And of course, we are adding nominated Senator Wako Halake. She's here. Thank you very much. She's also joining us in the discussion. Now, there's a roving mic. If you have a question, you'll be able to ask the question. So I'll begin with people right home. And I begin with Ms. Caroline. And I like your opinion about democracy, inclusivity. I know Martha broadened it, but your initial comments on inclusivity in terms of democracy, and probably you can mention what can be done right at the top. There's a mic for you. Yes, go ahead. Yes, you can sit and you can face them. Yes. You want her to stand? Okay, stand and face them. All right. Your mic is off. You can have this one meanwhile.
Thank you very much, CMD Kenya, FIDA, and all the organizations that put this together. Thank you, Ken, for giving me this opportunity. Let me start off by wishing all of us Happy International Women's Day. Before I respond to, Ken, what you've put to me, allow me to take this opportunity. It's an honor to have before me Martha Karua, who has made the keynote speech. I particularly want to remember her as one of the founding leaders of Ford Kenya. I mean, not Ford Kenya, of FIDA Kenya. Of FIDA Kenya. I mean, by germinating that seed and collecting women lawyers to be conscious about what they can do to contribute to the society, a lot has been done by virtue of that. On the question of inclusivity, for me, well, I totally appreciate with the issues raised by Honorable Martha Karua. And for me, the starting point is each and every person in Kenya celebrates and is proud to say, we are a democratic state. That's usually our starting point. But then do we pause to think and ask ourselves, what is democracy? You know, democracy, as we understand it, is about the sovereign power residing in people for the people. And when we talk about power residing in people and being exercised by the people, therein lies inclusivity. And our Constitution has captured it well. At the very starting point, we start off by saying, we the people. And so we can never run away from inclusivity, because when we talk of the people, it's both men and women. And when we talk of the exercise of sovereign power by the people, it must be both men and women. And so for me, that's the point to take away and say, even further in our Constitution, looking at even the principles of national governance, Article 10 of the Constitution, it's very clear on the question of inclusivity. And so for me, the challenge is, as CMD Kenya, having this opportunity to put together political parties, what is it that we are doing more and more for inclusivity? And even to take the point further is to say that inclusivity must be in all spheres of life. We know what our Article 27 of the Constitution says, particularly Article 27.3. It guarantees us of equal opportunity, all Kenyans, equal opportunity in the sphere of economic life, political life, and social life. So even as we discuss inclusivity and representation in the political life, what more are we doing to ensure equal opportunity in economic and social life for both men and women? So that for me becomes the point of engagement. Probably I'll engage further as we go on.
Great, Caroline. Thank you very much. And let's hear what the chairman of CMD has to say. You know, I'm looking at you, Chair, and I'm thinking you didn't give me the memo. I'm overdressed, right?
Thank you. I want to pick it up from where my sister stopped. First of all, let me associate myself with the sentiments given by my sister, Martha Karua, and where she stopped that we must include everybody in this war. But before I say anything else, let me confirm with what Martha Karua said, that women truly work. They truly work. There's one guy who prayed one night, and you saw it in social media, that he wants to be made a woman for at least even for a day. God answered his prayers. The guy was a woman for the whole day. He went through all those other manenos that women go through, including chasing children. Babies, packaging them the whole day. You sleep like a log. At the end of the day, this guy was so tired and said, God, you have been so faithful as my prayer. Can I now please? That was the following day. Of course, it was a 24-hour thing, because he asked for a day. And God was faithful. In the evening after event, all the rituals happened past midnight and the following morning. So he said, God, I'm now returning this burden of this woman to yourself, because you know how you designed her. That engine is only specific for women. God told him, thank you, sorry, my friend. You may remain in that state for the next 9 months, because last night you also conceived. The guy almost committed suicide. That man appreciates that women work. I actually concur with you. But taking it now back into reality, we must also as politicians, change our mindset. Well, legislation is working, but I'm also a realist. Every other time we talk about legislation, some men who are actually recipients and beneficiaries of what they enjoy today go on their defense. We may have to change tact and socialize our men differently. It may take long, but it will work. Because you need to ask your son, or who is able, at a marriageable level, if he's battering his wife, tell him that one you are batting is somebody's daughter. Tell this man who says this a mere woman, that could be your firstborn daughter. And the chemistry of firstborn daughters and the male, they are bonded. We may have to change tact. Let's address also politicians. Most of us, and I want to speak because I've witnessed it, we do not truly speak what we mean. Because we know they're the best voters. I will say I'm a gender-sensitive man number 2, like I claim myself to be, because there's a PS of health who was claiming to be a gender-sensitive man number 1. I was a GSM man number 2 when I was chairing a forum in Parliament trying to improve reproductive health and rights of women, and I became a chair deliberately to force men to think the gender issues of providing funding in the headline, in the reproductive health budget. It was 0. And I want to tell you, they called me all manner of names. Omagara is a chairman of Women Affairs. We used to call that organization an informal parliamentary network on population and development. It worked because from that 0 budget, at the end of the year, we had about 1 billion Kenya shillings in the budget to provide for maternal and child health care. We must practice what we preach. Some of us, because we know women are very good voters and very loyal, we talk to the gallery and say, I am agenda says to man number, whatever. But do we really act? Political parties. We need to also do some kind of peer review. How have we performed? In my party, all the 6 nominations I got, I gave them to ladies. All of them. All of them. 6 out of 6, 100% was given to ladies because they were not covered. Now, it is therefore not possible to also say, as a woman, we will give you every time tokenism. I want to ask you people to also think the Mother Karua way. When I started introducing her, I said she fights for her space. Can you kindly also stand up to be counted? It is not always easy to be given. And when they give you, you have no value. And I can tell you, even when you are elected in parliament, you command some respect, which others say you only came in through 1 vote. It's demeaning. We want our women to stand up also to be counted. Sometimes you look around, because again, we need several mentors to come and mentor our young girls to be able to participate. Sometimes you're told, can you provide? But you look around, they aren't even offering themselves to come and participate. Worse still, the young woman suffers even more. Okay, this one who is married can be accepted of the clan where she's married in. If you're a young woman, sorry, they say, this one, she may fly away to US after being elected, for example. We need to stand up to be counted and disabuse ourselves from the cultural practices and be able to be all involved. It is not only in political sphere, even in our churches. We say women don't do X, don't do X, don't do Y. We must also now be more inclusive, and let us have a peer review mechanism in every quarter of our sector of our lives, that we know who speaks for real and what they can account for. Finally, it is a true story that even the young people, when they are excluded, they're the ones with the energy. You heard what somebody was saying here yesterday, the SG of ODM. Please take your space. The age cannot only qualify you to be, but you must take out space. Particularly the political space, it is never given. You stand and grab it. Grab it fast, because power upholds a vacuum. God bless.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Chair. And of course, this is put up here because we want to see your participation and your comments before when we begin. I see it's already at yes 33 and no at 67. We're moving, perhaps those are only 3 people participating. There are several ways you can participate there. Let me call now Senator Halake Abshiro also to give her her initial comment. You can just stand and face the audience. Inclusivity, and you're one person who understands what inclusivity is about. Nominated Senator for Kano, right?
Yes.
Exactly.
Good morning. Thank you very much. My name is Abshiro Halake, nominated senator. I'd like to thank the chairperson of CMD and CMD itself for this dialogue, and of course not forgetting our trailblazer, Ms. Martha Karua, who we look up to and who we thank for actually putting in place the structural systems, the Constitution 2010, which was brought about by the need for inclusivity. It's precisely because of the lack of inclusivity that our Constitution was changed. And so we thank and owe a lot to her. But I'd like to just ask a question to this forum. How many of you have ever considered to run for political office? Just by show of hand. To run or to offer yourself for political office. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, I think that is good. But there's very few of us, especially, okay, let's look at how many of the women, let's leave the men out. Let's see by a show of hand, how many women, of course, Honorable Martha Karua, I have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay? Now, this is a question I asked to Alliance girls when I went to speak to them. The girls could not raise their hands when I asked them how many of you would like to be lawyers? Everybody, there were about 1,000 girls, doctors, but do you know that consequential change can only be achieved where the structural, the policies, the legislation is changed? The reason why we're not included is because we are not offering ourselves for political leadership. And it's not because we don't want to, but because the environment perhaps is not very conducive. But Honorable Martha Karua will tell you, she has suffered, so have other women before us. Of course, it's not for the faint-hearted, but we must offer ourselves for political office. I'll give you a story of myself. I was one of you. I thought politics was dirty and not for people that looked, talked, acted, and behaved like I did. But it's about time, good people, because Honorable Martha Karua is one of the best people I know. Her values are beyond reproach, but she was in politics. I don't know who has lied to us about a narrative that good girls should not go for politics. And there's a reason for that. It's because the consequential change lies in that politics. For a long time, I was a humanitarian worker with the Red Cross. I was also a conservationist with KWS and other places, with the Northern Rangelands Trust. Now, when I was with the Red Cross, and we were doing funds transfers in Turkana and in Dadaab, we could not send the money because 2G connectivity did not cover about 202 sublocations within the country. So I'd go to Safaricom and beg and beg and beg and beg, and they gave me one in 5 years as a CSR, and because I was very persistent. When I came to Parliament and I was elected the vice chairperson of the ICT committee, as I was preparing for my role, I realized there's something called Universal Service Fund, which had gone to 6 billion shillings, being paid by the telcos for connectivity in hard-to-reach places to be done by government. Then I also learned that I have the same equal powers as a judge to summon anybody and to ask them the right questions. So I quickly said, summon Gisheru, summon everybody, CA and everybody else. And in fact, at some point they said, this lady is so excited about her summoning power, she's asking everybody to come. But I didn't apologize for it, because all of a sudden I realized something I was begging for 5 years, I could summon somebody and ask the right questions. So we gave them 14 days to come and explain to us why the 202 sublocations around the country were not covered by the basic 2G connectivity. Before they came, they advertised for all the lots so that they would come and say it's ongoing for all the 202. I'm giving this story because to show the power that politics can have to bring good consequential change for development and for other things if the right people get involved and ask the right questions. So for me then, I'll ask the question, we are 52% as women, we are almost 70% as youth. Why aren't we voting for ourselves? The 2/3 gender bill in Parliament was defeated. And let me tell you something, and Honorable Karua and Honorable Maraga can attest to this. When government wants to push an agenda, even the voting system can be switched off and that bill will pass. Is that not correct, sir? But for the 2/3 gender bill, for the 4th time, it's been defeated. That's because there's no political goodwill. And Honorable Margara has just said, don't wait to be included. Let's include ourselves. And how do we do that? Through our votes. If we are the largest majority, if 75% of this country, and who knows the mean age of our country? How old are we? Average age? 19 years. The average age is 19 years. That means more than 70% of people in this country are youth. Why are we still asking Honorable Duale to give us affirmative action? And by the way, coming to Parliament through affirmative action sucks. I can't vote because I belong to a delegation and the elected person votes.
What?
Yes. I could not vote. I cannot vote. I was reading a land index bill that was wrong, had colonial era style of indexing of land, where it was looking narrowly at the value of land, where it was not looking at the biodiversity, it was not looking at livelihoods, it was not looking at anything, and where government was literally grabbing land on a mission to grab land from communities. But I could not vote. So I'm glad that perhaps affirmative action shouldn't work, but let's stand up and vote for the women and for the youth, and then we can vote. Because through affirmative action, really, yes, I was able to summon people and get this work going. But there's certain legislation, certain key legislation that I disagree with that I cannot even vote for. So I urge young people, I urge women, let's vote. Let's get involved. I'm not happy with the number of hands that were up. There were just 6. And the reason why I asked about the women to raise their hands is because I realized it was a good number, actually, but I knew that would change the minute we then go to young people and to women. Of course, yes, we till the 96% of land in this country, in the agricultural land, only 6% ownership of land by women. So economically, we are excluded, and in many ways, we are excluded. The other day, I have a bill in Parliament because our periods are taxed. I thought we don't tax pads. I realized that it's only importation that's not taxed. Local production of pads is taxed. If we had more women, they would know that it's not my fault I bleed every day, and why am I being taxed? So tax reforms, tax regimes would have been made better if more women got involved, and who are the people? So I don't want to go into that, but let me just mention political parties, but I'm in political space. Small parties are not financed. Again, that is exclusion. We're going to challenge that. We're going to make sure we will bring bills to make sure that smaller parties are not strangled. Right now with the handshake, is there any opposition to anything? No. Now, if the smaller parties cannot stand up, then our democracy is as good as dead. And therefore, we will make sure we challenge the political parties' financing, because political inclusion must mean that everybody is on the table, and everybody, including small parties, that actually can band together and become a really big force, because it's an era of no single party can really carry the day. So I look forward to a time when we can do this. And with regards to economic exclusion, I mean, inclusion in the democratic space starts with exclusion economically, exclusion with education systems. There are parts of this country where the illiteracy levels are 78, 90%, 80%. That's exclusion, because it starts there. If you're not educated, how do you go into politics? If you're not, able to do these things. So for me, we're going to challenge ourselves, first of all. If when excluded, we have a big role we have played, as women, as youth, and as Kenyans. So please, let's use our vote. And it's said, our vote reflects us. We can't complain about graft, which is excluding us again, because again, if all the money to provide services is not going to the right places, we are all excluded. So I think this we can go on and on, but let's challenge ourselves. We have a role to play in our own exclusion. We stand up, we stop being used as voting machines, both outside and even inside Parliament, because with affirmative action, what are you? You're a voting machine, but even then, you can't vote for crucial bills. So to hell with the 2/3 gender rule. If it's for people like the majority leader to bring it and then use it against us for some. In fact, there was a time we were told, vote for us for this and this and this because yours is coming. Ours was prioritized last, Honorable Karua, as we voted for everything else in the hope that the 2/3 gender bill will come, and the day ours came, nobody cared. We are tired of being used and discarded. It's time we stood up through our vote And let's forget about this thing of being given 300 shillings, 500 shillings, and we sing the, the tune. We must stand up. We must offer ourselves for service and for leadership, and we must vote for our own. I thank you.
Thank you, Senator. You need to teach me how they prioritized you last. Yes.
It's just about putting it on order paper. It's a parliamentary program is order paper. The parliamentary group, you put on order paper.
Yes.
And we have, for instance, the Senate's Business Committee would prioritize bills.
Yes.
Of course, the 2/3 gender bill was in the National Assembly, but it's just a matter of, and then say, it's not a good time now, we'll do it when after these things, and usually it's a bit of a negotiation, and it will be brought. Of course, again, the problem is that it wasn't a woman who was sponsoring it, so he would prioritize it on the order paper at a convenient time, at the right time for it to sail through, but there was never going to be a right time.
You were played. Yes, you played. Thank you very much, Senator. And Honorable Ogindo, I know because he is from a small party who really like to contribute to this debate. And ANC would disagree with you that there's no position now that there's a handshake. ANC would disagree. But let's learn from outside now, right? Let's learn about what is the practice outside. Have they done what we're trying to talk about here? And I'll begin with Dr. Mayo to contribute to this. Let's learn from you. Dr. Mayo is right there.
Sorry, Dr. Thomas Withdraw.
Okay.
Let's
just talk about Burkina Faso experience first.
Okay,
Go ahead. Yes.
Okay, Burkina Faso first. Big thanks to GIPD, CMD for invitation. I want to ask a question. To answer what we can understand by inclusive democracy, because my official occupation is doctor in political science. I want to ask all of you, Burkina Faso is a country of French. Can I speak in French or in broken English? This is the inclusive democracy. Clap your hand. I think that inclusive democracy is very explained by the session, the introduction of the session, by the expression of Lincoln, power for people, power of people for the people. I want to say that in democracy, there are two definitions. The formal definition, if there are institutions, it is a democracy, modern institution, parliament. In front of?
Yeah, the question for the camera.
You want to
just right here.
You want to
that's
see
okay.
my face?
That's okay.
Okay. It is okay. If there are institution like parliament, executive, it is a democracy. If there are elections, it is a democracy. It is a formal definition. But there are substantial definitions. It is the capacity to include all of us, economically, politically, culturally. It is the second definition, which is the inclusive democracy. It is the challenge of all the people. It is not a problem of Kenya. It is a problem of the world. Because it is very difficult to include all of us, of all of them. I take the case of Burkina Faso. There are 200 political parties. At the head, no woman. In the parliament, we have semi-presidential mechanism of governance. There are 127 members of parliament. Only 18 women. 18. In the government, 18. 18. Yes. In the government, there are 33. Only four women. In the local governments, there are 333. There are only less 30 women. You know, it is a problem in our communities. It is a problem of how to include people in the democracy. It is the reason why I want to make reflection around quota, parity, and all to oblige people to include women. Because inclusive democracy is a fact to include weak power and marginalized people. It is what I want to say, what concerns the first question.
All right. That's your numbers. Let's clap for him. He tried speaking English the same way we speak your French. But you have done well, and the numbers are quite disturbing. But again, in Kenya, it's no better. In fact, if you heard what the senator said in terms of, I mean, even Honorable Karua said, in terms of even the national government in Kenya, we have the same problem. You look at, that's why probably the senator has a difficult time in parliament passing the gender bill, right? Because there is no political goodwill. I'd like now to speak to Dr. Mayo now. Your experience, you have just come to the front. You have a problem also with minorities and how minorities are included, right? So share with us your experience.
Hello, everyone. First of all, I felt honored by allowing me this opportunity to speak in front of this important event, People Dialogue Festival. To start with, I felt Myanmar is a rather unfamiliar or foreign to the audience. So I have to introduce my country. Myanmar is situated between China, Thailand, and India, Bangladesh. And it has a population of about 52 million. And formerly it was known as Burma. And it was also known through the names of celebs. There is a late UN Secretary General U Thant and the Nobel Peace Prize laureate Aung San Suu Kyi. Now, I'll go on the inclusive politics of Myanmar. Who required to be included? In the light of today's special designation, International Women's Day. So, women must be included in political participation as well as in decision-making positions. Secondly, I've learned from our keynote speaker, Mother Maru, that youth always start revolution. It's also true in Myanmar. In 1988, the young students took to streets to protest against a brutal military regime, risking their lives and facing the running bullets. So we felt we can't stay away from the youth revolution, and we joined hands with the youth, and then we became politicians. I'm just a medical practitioner, but I felt the youth struggle in democratic movement moved my heart to take part in that dangerous profession in Myanmar at that time. So another thing, what to include is marginalized ethnic minorities. You will be surprised to hear that in Myanmar, there are more than 100 ethnic armed organizations, and still new ones are emerging. It's a result of the undemocratic military regime for many years, about 70 years, Myanmar is unlucky to have civil war altogether at the time of its independence. Here I want to mention that there are some similarities between Myanmar and Kenya. One is Myanmar people are also fun-loving people, just as Kenya. And another thing is Myanmar got their independence from under British colonialism. So we felt quite friendly with Kenya. And we have to say at large that women's participation in Myanmar start from the ancient times, about 2 million years ago. There's a famous queen, Queen Pantro, ruled Myanmar quite successfully. And then came Queen Shinsopu. She was well known among Myanmar. And currently, our de facto national leader is Aung San Suu Kyi. And in spite of the century-long mistakes of old administrations, she was grappling with political, the ethnical, economic problems. And so we Myanmars never recognize the women as the second class. The recent development in Myanmar is that we've agreed in a peace process that the women participation in the decision-making position must be at least 30%. But it has yet to be implemented, and it has yet to be included in the Constitution Amendment. And on the political institution, I have to say that we have a separate women's branch. It has its own hierarchy from the village track to the central level. And it can keep its own fund. And at the same time, the chair and the secretary of the every level was incorporated into the regular executive committees. So they can make their separate independent political activities. At the same time, they can join hands with the regular executive committees. The same is true for the youths. They can also hold their separate youth branch. And I have to say that the chair of the Central Youth Branch is a woman also. She's a girl just under 30. And so we've never marginalized the women and the youth from our political arena. But I have to say that the low percentage of women and youth in Myanmar is a continuation of our past. For at the time, families have to make their own decisions. At the time, we are facing the threats of being imprisoned and being tortured. Family made their own decisions. That husbands face that threats. And wives keep their families and their kids' education. That's the continuation of our past politics. But we have now decided the inclusion of women must be at least 30%. And about the ethnic minorities, we are quite sorry about that multitude of EAOs in Myanmar. But we have to stop those untrust between brother ethnic groups by compromise through the 21st Century Penlone Conference. And We are also trying in another way through the parliament to make amendment of the 2008 Constitution. So we are going forward for the inclusiveness of women and children and the ethnic minorities. One unique characteristic of Myanmar is we have established ethnic affairs union ministry. At the same time, every state and region government have a minister for the ethnic affairs. Every ethnic nationals who have the ethnic population of equal or greater than 7% will have their own minister in their region or state government. So in this way, we are trying to tackle with the ethnic affairs, and we are trying to reconcile between the past, the mistrust between our brothers. Recently, we also adopt a national youth policy, which will be the guidelines for the state, regional, as well as the union governments to abide by. So we are going forward for the inclusiveness of Myanmar. But to be frank, Myanmar was recently known in the international community as a notorious information about our activities in the northern Rakhine, and many are suspicious of our government's democratic and federal intentions. They said there were human rights violations seriously. As my colleague has explained, it's a long past history, and the international media was overwhelmed by the so-called Rangers propaganda. We Rakhine ethnics have to suffer very much for those who have came from Bangladesh, and now they have linked the repatriation of the Bengalis with the recognition as ethnic Rohingyas. We are ready to accept them if they can prove that they had stayed in Myanmar. In 1993 agreement between Myanmar and Bangladesh government, it was clearly said that if a person can prove that he was in Myanmar, he, his family, his parents, his siblings, his offspring, even his foster sons and daughters will be accepted. But this citizenship and recognition as an ethnic national is another thing. It's concerned with the sovereignty of Myanmar. So you should see these two things separately. If they combine these things as one, we cannot accept them. Because you know, Myanmar is so I have to end my speech because I'm speaking too much. And thank you for your attention, and I will ready to explain. And I also apologize because I'm an occasional speaker in English. Although I'm a well-resourceful and well-versed in Myanmar politics, I'm ready to answer any question. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Mayo. Thank you so much. And at least we've learned from the Myanmar experience and the difficulties you have down there. Same, actually, you began by saying you share your story with Kenya. And at the end of it, I actually agree that you share a lot of challenges with Kenya, especially the part of implementation. But that's why we're here to learn. I'd want Honorable Ogindo to go first to ask a question or two. But before then, I've seen several legislators come in the House. I've seen Richard Onyonka, he's here. I've seen Zipporah, she's here also. But I'd like to recognize the presence of a party leader, because it's about parties, Honorable Moses Wetangula, Senator. If you'd like to participate in this session also, you're welcome to say one thing or two. But Senator Wetangula will be speaking at the other forum where we'll be talking about alternative voice and agenda in political governance. He will be leading that session at the amphitheater right after this session. So if you really want to say something, we'll allow you. But let's speak to Honorable Oginda. He's also a party leader. Talk to us. And this is a session now that, Chair, I didn't see him. Okay, so you will speak, but this is a session where we'll try to interact as much as we can. Go to mentimeter.com. There's a code there, 8697779. Post your comment so that you see them if you have a comment about the session. But if you have a question, we'll try to get as much as we can. So, Honorable Ginde, go first, then I'll give Chair a chance.
Thank you very much. And ladies and gentlemen, forgive my voice, for it is as a result of pollution that I have a congested voice. And it is for that very reason that I founded a political party called Green Congress of Kenya, whose foundation is to ensure a clean environment. Thank you very much, presenters, for your presentations, and I want to pick up from where Madam Martha Karua left. Yesterday we were here and the presentation was made, and we appreciated that you cannot get democracy if the population is not empowered. And I think it is incumbent on us as Kenyans to ensure that our population is empowered. Secondly, about this inclusivity, you cannot legislate it and get it right until and unless you take it as a value. That is when you will realize it. And that is why us in Green Congress Party of Kenya, we have taken it as a value and we embrace it. That is why our party structure has 50% men, 50% women. The leadership of the party is one co-party leader man, one co-party leader woman. So we are practicing it and we are embracing it. And it takes courage to embrace that. The last thing I want to say is it takes courage to actualize these things that we are looking for. And that is what Kenyans need. I've seen my brother here, Wadrago. I'd had the privilege of going to Burkina Faso, Ouagadougou, and this is the one country where people took courage to ban their entire parliament just because they didn't agree with what they were doing. So what we need is courage to do what we are doing. Last, and I want to call upon the attention of Party Leader Martha Karua, and also the attention of Party Leader Onweta, and Party Leader Omingo Wamagara, and I know there are many party leaders here. The best way from where we stand now to achieve this inclusivity is to come together with all the like-minded and pitch for proportional representation that I heard Martha Karua talk about. And we can only do that if we bring the like-minded in the political arena, in the civil society, in the clergy, and what have you, and create a caucus that will pitch this, a loud voice that every Kenyan in every corner will appreciate. We will have youth in the decision-making table. We will have women in the decision-making table. The onus is on us, and let's make that part of a resolution of this CMD festival. I thank you.
Right. Thank you very much for your comments. And I'm just coming to you. There'll be a roving mic. You can ask the questions. But I'm wondering, Honorable Wetangula, if you have something to say, or we can proceed just for 2 minutes. Yes, just for 2 minutes.
Thank you. Good afternoon, all. Happy International Women's Day. As you've been told, Senator Moses Wetangula, Senator for Bungoma County, leader of the second oldest party in Kenya, Ford Kenya, as a party which the chair of CMD cut his political teeth through. I have come with two members of my party, Honorable Richard Momoi Maonyonka, the second deputy party leader of our party, and Mama Nazra Ibrahim, nominated member of parliament and the national treasurer of our party. Since I'm going to another session, I'll just say 2-3 things. This morning when I woke up, being International Women's Day, I sent 2 tweets which I want to read. The first one I said, I joined the women folk in celebrating the International Women's Day. Governments and persons in authority need not be reminded that women's rights are human rights and that equality between men and women is not anybody's option. Heko mom, wife, sis, and daughters. My second tweet was, my mother, and this is factual, my mother brewed busa and distilled changa to see us through school. Having stopped her school at standard 2, she dutifully checked our report cards to see what position we got and promptly punished poor performance. At 90, she remains the icon of my life. Happy Women's Day. As we celebrate Women's Day, we as a party, Ford Kenya, have in every rank and file embraced equality between men and women. Our party has a NEC of 62, out of which 31 are women and 31 are men. We had only one slot to nominate a member to the National Assembly. We gave that slot to a woman and not a man. Last Parliament, we had one slot to nominate a senator. We nominated a woman. And the county where I come from, Bungoma, is the #1 county in Kenya in the election of women. We are the only county that nearly hit the 1/3 requirement. Out of 45 wards of Bungoma County, 13 wards have elected women MCS. Through the courtesy, effort, and campaign and support of yours truly. So I stand for equality, I stand for equity among people, and I stand for the opportunities being available to all, and we must level the playing field. If we don't level the playing field, talking about equality is just academic. We have a new constitution, as I finish, with very, very progressive provisions and ideas. But the process of implementation has posed a challenge. Yesterday, my party presented a party position to the BBI, and we strongly recommended that if we want to achieve equality between men and women in this country and all other groups, we must embrace proportional representation. That is the only way, and my party presented a very strong document which we'll post on the web to share with all other interested groups so that we can be able to achieve. Lastly, before I go to my other session, I want to encourage CMD that in dealing with political parties, let it not be an annual event, because political parties engage in activities on a day-to-day basis. We have a lot of youth cadre in political parties. We have a lot of women cadre in political parties. And in the last parliament, incidentally, my party was given a slot to nominate an old person. And we nominated a 78-year-old patriarch who served his full 5 years. So as we promote the youth, don't forget that the transient process of people aging like my dear sister here must also be accommodated because they carry a rich history of our society that you must all tap from. May God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator, very much. Honorable Zipporah Kitonyi, if you remember in her other life, for the longest, she was the chairperson of the Maendeleo ya Wanawake. I think because it's International Women's Day, we have to allow her to say a minute or two. As you come up, I'd like to remind you there's a survey that is out from the International Labour Organization, ILO, and the statistics are disturbing. Out of the global workforce, less than half are women, right? Yeah, paid labor, global, half are women. Mheshimiwa. Just briefly, then we will take your questions now.
Good afternoon, all of you. Happy Women's Day. I would like to echo the CMD and the donor community who have supported this event. And I want to support Senator Wetangula by saying that it should not be an annual event. It should be a continuous process because to be able to accommodate the women in our political parties should be a key and a number one option. I want to congratulate the party that says they have 50-50 in their neck. That is the Ford Kenya party. And I think all of us, all the other parties should echo and follow that suit. I want to say that we have come a long way. The women journey looking for equality has been a very, very long journey, and it is still long and it is still windy. But it is the commitment of the political parties to make it straight and shorter so that women can get what they deserve, what is their rightful positions in the parties. The political parties is another life that it's like the life that we have in our homes. So we need to accommodate each other, and women should be accommodated in the political parties so that we can be able to work together. When I woke up this morning also, I remember that the journey that we've taken to fight for women to be in equal position with men has been a very long one. And still, even, I don't want to open the debate. You know what happened the other day. We are still fighting for the two-third gender in our parliament. It has not gone through. So I want sincerity from our men. Even if Honorable Wetangula speaks here about this good party, when it comes to other things, we do not get the support that it is supposed to be given when it comes to voting in the House. And therefore, if you really want us to appreciate and see that you are genuine and sincere, then let us pass the two-third gender in our parliament. And so I come from the oldest party, the party that founded. Unfortunately, I'm not wearing red. I don't know whether my girls are in the room. We have our nominated Senator Abshiru from KANU party. We say KANU is Mama na Baba. So for me, I love my party. I love women. They are my passion. And all of you who are here, mostly, you are KANU. Asanteni.
Asante sana. They may be leaving, but I'd like to bring back the House into the discussion we're having. There's a roving mic. If you just have a comment, just share it. We'll be reading it and the rest of us can read it there. But if you have a question, I will move to you right now. Who has a question? Where do we go first? There's a lady, just very brief question so that we are able to take as much as we can, and if you can direct it to someone.
God is good all the time. Martha Mara is my name, from ANC party. Martha Karua, people think when I say my name, Mara, they think it's Karua. Okay, now my first question is this. Do we really mean what we want in terms of inclusivity? In the sense that when we talk about inclusivity, we fight for the space, for the women, for the youth. You get the space. When we get that space, what do we do with the space? Okay. Are we going there to represent our sisters, our brothers born of the same womb, our sons and our daughters? We give you the space. You get in, you're our icon. You go in, you represent, you go in to elect, nominate, or you go in to appoint your people from the same family. Are you really being just to this issue of inclusivity? Okay. Again, on inclusivity, it is so wide. It is not just about the gender. It's not just about the women and the youth. Political parties, we are being excluded from being funded by the Registrar of Political Parties. That is in our constitution. Inclusivity should be it should be broadened to every space. We go to the county levels. The county levels, we are given 30%. I come from Kajiado. Others stay in places that they are not born. Are these people who are of other tribes in these other counties really taking their space to be included in those county levels? Those are the very many questions that we are really asking ourselves. Yes. And we want our legislation at the county level and the national government to streamline this so that we can have a well-balanced inclusivity. So
I think that was more of a comment than even a question, right?
Yes. Another one also goes to the bridging initiative. Inclusivity should be all-based, everywhere. Is it just about ODM and Jubilee in the bridging, in the BBI? Or is it about all political parties being included in it?
Thank you, Martha. There's a gentleman right behind you there. Make it very brief to accommodate the rest of the people.
Actually, it's very brief.
Yes.
My name is Anthony Davids. And Martha has given us a very good, actually, I can call it a call to action. But for my question will be, what are they doing to unite our voices? Because every day, the youth are disorganized, we are unstructured. I would want for her and Musalia to tell us, what are they doing to unite us as voices so that we can have a single youth voice? Thank you.
Okay, that was a question that was directed to Honorable Karua, who is leaving, I guess. So, what are you doing to unite the youth? I think just briefly as you leave.
Everything that we can, and I've just said that when the youth break the barriers of party, ethnicity, and all that, we, the senior citizens, will be there to guide you. And personally, I'm ready, able, and willing. Over to you.
Great answer, and I agree with her. You can call her anytime she picks calls. I'm looking. There's a gentleman here also. There's a gentleman here. Make sure you tell us who you're asking the question, if it's a question or a brief comment.
Thank you very much, Ken. My name is Bernard Wakoli. I'm the National Youth Leader of Ford Kenya, as you can see. Thank you very much for this opportunity. And my question goes to Madam Caro. You talked about inclusivity. And I tend to believe that Kenya in practice is a republican because we talk of Republic of Kenya. But in theory, we keep on talking about democracy. And there's a thin line between democracy and a republic. Because in a republic, the authority of the majority is constrained by a constitution or laws. But in a democracy, there's limited constraint of the majority who imposes their laws or imposes the authority to the minority. So my question is, how would we, as a country, embrace republic as a practice and not really keep on talking about democracy which has not, which most of us even don't understand how it's practiced. Second question, I had two questions. Second question to the panelists who were here before. There's this debate about having inclusive or having inclusive, the winner takes all thing, that we need to change the constitution so that the winner does not take all. And yet in a democracy, we know there is competition, people are competing. And whoever wins in that competition, of course, forms a government or wins and takes it the way he wants. Can you kindly, or whoever, clarify to us about how we can address this issue of winner takes it all, especially in a polarized country like Kenya? Thank you.
Thank you, Wakoli. And Caroline, that was a direct question to you, and I guess Senator Halake will answer the question on what do we do about winner takes it all. So I'll come to you, but there's a lady, let's combine this question. There's a lady right here.
Hello, my name is Serene from FIDA. My question goes to Zipporah Kitoni and Honorable Shiro. Concerning the women movement, what are women who are currently in politics doing to mentor young women? Is there a platform to do that?
Thank you. You have two questions, Mheshimiwa. There is a lady right at the back. Let's take one more, then they can answer.
My name is Karen Mtoniwasa. I work for a youth-led youth-serving organization in Kenya. I have 3 questions.
Please.
I'll direct them specifically to specific people. The first one is for Honorable Magara or Dr. Thomas. I am a political I'm a political science student at undergrad level, and one of the books that we were made to read was Machiavelli, who talked about democracy being the best form of governance in the world. And the definition that we were given of politics, and that keeps on being given, is politics is who gets what, where, and how, which for me I think is a definition that does not do justice to politics as a leadership and service space. So my question is, how can democracy in pluralist societies like Kenya and many other in Africa, has it failed or has it not failed? That's the question. Does it work for Africa? Does it not work for Africa? And if not, or if it works for Africa, how then how would it look like? How would democracy in Africa look like? That's for Dr. Thomas and Honorable Magara. The second question is for Ms. Caroline. How do we actualize inclusion in a man-eat-man society? I think we have heard that Kenya is a man-eat-man society, is a self-centered, individualistic society. So how do we actualize inclusion? I work with kids as young as 10 years old, and I'm supposed to start teaching them about inclusion. And when they leave school or leave the mentorship sessions we give them, they go to a space whereby they're faced with a man-eat-man mentality. The third question is for Senator Shiro. Thank you so much for speaking on affirmative action. I think there are very few people who think about affirmative action in the way that you do. And case in point, the new Kenya Youth Development Policy that is actually a draft right now, their driving force is affirmative action for youth mainstreaming. So my question to you is, does affirmative action help with inclusion in a sustainable manner, or does it take away the responsibility to actually build the capacity, to strengthen the capacity to actually go for it? Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think those are many questions that they need to answer. I see you right there. I see a gentleman right here, and I see a gentleman. I'll give them an opportunity to respond to those questions. Honorable Martha left, so she's not able to answer, but Kara is still here and Abshiro is still here. They can answer that.
Thank you so much, Ben, for that question. I've known Ben way back. We have served a lot in Fort Kenya. So now, my question was on the issue of republic versus democracy. Well, my take of it is that in a Republican setup, we see a deliberate attempt to restrain the majority rule at the core minimum of what is protected. In the democracy sense of it, we are saying majority carries the day, irrespective. Putting it in the context of our country, I think Kenya, as much as largely we call ourselves a democracy, there's a sense in which also we have incorporated and domiciled Republican tendencies. For example, take the case of a Bill of Rights chapter in the Constitution. It has deliberately said there's the minimum which cannot be derogated, irrespective of the circumstances, say the right against torture. So in my view of it is that we have deliberately as a country tried to say that there's, as much as we are a democracy, there's this minimum we are protecting. So probably the question is this minimum sufficient enough? And as someone was rightly asking, has democracy worked for Africa? I think for me the question is, have we tinkered and tailored it and customized it to suit our circumstances? When I heard about, when Thomas was speaking from Burkina Faso, it reminded me of the story of Thomas Sankara. And if you read the story of Thomas, you see that he was very deliberate in engaging the community. For example, when he immediately took power, he formed what they were calling the CDR, the Committee in Defense of Revolution. And these committees were across the country, and it is well documented that what they were able to do was much more and higher than what government of the day did. And the point is, how much do you mobilize the community to get engaged in the day-to-day activities of a people? It's possible it can work. Many a time, sometimes, empowering community is construed as a challenge to the power that is. Contrary to it, as Thomas showed it to us, he was the president, worked with these committees, and there were, I remember in one of the committees, the target was to build 30 schools, and they were ending up building 70 schools in a year. Power of community engagement. So for me, even tying that with the issue of inclusivity, I would say we must go back and engage at community level. Because democracy presupposes a lot of things. One of those it presupposes is an empowered population. A population that can see through between the lines. You know, not the usual rhetorics that we hear from politicians whenever elections are near and due. So we must go back and engage the community for real inclusivity. And I want to agree that moving forward in terms of political space, given that this is a forum of CMD Kenya, we must then talk political space. For me, I agree. We must go the electoral, the proportional representation way. That, for me, is the only way to break this. How many times have we had this gender bill being defeated in the House? We've tried one way for far too long. Let's be creative and try another route. I think it can work. For me, proportional representation is the real deal. Even if, again, we need to go back and tinker with it and mix it and see how best it can work for us as a country. So I'd be saying that even as we engage in this referendum engagement, CMD Kenya, I'd be urging, can we push the agenda of proportional representation? At minimum, it guarantees the women, the youth on the table of decision making. And that we must do. Thank you.
Senator has questions.
Actually, I've forgotten some of the ones, but let me start with the last one about affirmative action. Affirmative action is good because, again, even I'm standing here because of affirmative action. But it can and sometimes does have an undesired consequence where people might think, what have you done? You've not stopped this bill from happening and things like that. But what I have a problem with is when we talk about youth programs, women programs, affirmative action here, you know, there seems so tokenism for the largest population. How is it that you do some projects for 70% of the people? Isn't that supposed to be the thing we do always? Isn't that supposed to be in fact, the only thing we do? I mean, how is it that you're doing some little things here and there for the entire population? Isn't the entire population entitled to mainstream? And this is the questions we need to ask. Instead of being very happy that some things have been thrown to women and to youth, is to ask, aren't we the most? Therefore, in fact, these projects and programs should in fact just be about youth and then the rest, because in terms of equitable representation or equitable sharing of resource or equitability, you know, this is what I need us to think about, because I find it difficult to have a few projects here and there for youth empowerment, and yet it's the entire country that is youth. How? So these are the kinds of things this is what I was trying to allude to when I was talking about, affirmative action that just doesn't seem, is a bit warped. Now, I don't have answers, clearly, but it's a journey. I know the question of my little sister here said, what are we doing? Probably not enough, because we're also quite handicapped, as you can imagine. But yes, we are legislating to make sure that legislative space, and just to say, government resources follow government policies and legislation. Outside of that, then we don't really, people will tell you we have no system or channel of people to do ABCD. So we're legislating to make sure that, first of all, the legal frameworks, the policy frameworks are in place and are favorable and are gender-based. Be they government budgeting, we literally put on agenda lens and look through the budget policy statements to see, but where is the amount going to women and what have you? That is the aspect of legislation from where we sit to, as legislators, we are trying to do to make sure that every government policy is gender sensitive and takes care of the majority, both in terms of the youth and the women. But in terms of the capacity building programmatically, legislators, and this is one thing that we must understand, we are not capacity builders. We are legislators. And sometimes we don't even have the money for it. But we're making sure that if there's capacity building legislation, that's there. If there's resources that should go to capacity building, we make sure it's there, especially in Senate where we do the CARA and the DORA, which is basically the revenue allocation and revenue distribution to counties. We look and we actually go to a different room and say, what does it say about women and what have you, and for these kinds of things. But with regards to direct interventions programmatically, it's an area that perhaps is not best suited for us, and that's where the partnerships come in with civil society, with the media, with everybody else that can actually do the actual capacity building. But yes, in Senate, we don't really have development finances, but we're looking at a bit of money for capacity building of MCAs, so that then they can legislate and they can oversight budgets and they can make sure that government policies and government legislation and government resources are gender sensitive, and that we have a stake in the pie. Somebody else asked a question. I forget what the question was, but if there's anything else, I'm around for a few, an hour or so. Please feel free to get in touch. But that said, let's not give up. There's a lot that can be achieved if the right people get involved in politics. Let's not shy away from it. And it's not easy, of course, but it can be done, and it has been done by those before us. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator. And Honorable Onyonka wants to say something?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I would like to speak from the point of view that I'm now a member of Parliament who has been in that house for the last 20 years. It's quite interesting. My realization, Ken, is that when you look at the way we are handling our issues of governance, and I'll go back to the gender bill, I noticed three things. Number one, the caliber and quality of the legislature that you people are electing. 3/4 of the people who are in that house actually never even went to school. So when you're presenting a matter that is about gender issues, about our governance and management of public affairs, the standards are quite low. And we've discussed this with our colleagues. But people deserve the leaders they get. All right? I mean, right now, look at the quality of legislature who's going to run for office. He must have big cars, he must have money which is most probably stolen. He may not have any ideological basis or engagement. He didn't have to go to school anyway, and especially after the emasculation of Chapter 6. That's what I've realized. Number two, when you come to the house itself, and you've seen this, and I wished that Mrs. Kitoni was here, because I grew up seeing her fighting for the women. When you look at what was happening in the house, and the lady legislature would have to forgive me, because I was going to say this even when they're here. They didn't even attend the voting. 29 of them never showed up. They were out in Europe touring, same conferences, same seminars. So that tells you that even the impetus and the feeling that your leaders themselves, not necessarily because they're women, but because they would understand what it is to be discriminated against as a woman, they didn't attend the voting. Point number three, what has been the best case scenario? I fortunately happen to have done some work in Rwanda. The decision by Kagame to make sure that he's going to increase the number of women who are going to be in the legislature, in parliament, and all the county government sectors was deliberate. There was a very systematic, deliberate attempt or decision by the Rwandese government to make sure that women are actually facilitated and engaged to the point whereby right now Rwanda is the country in Africa which has got the largest number of women in political and public offices. I don't think we have that in this country of ours called Kenya. And as a member of parliament, I can tell you that house is just, and I'm not trying to say this to discourage all of you, that house is a talk shop. The issues about whether we are increasing our salaries, it's true. That's all we ever agree about. Critical issues about whether national resources are to be protected, whether we need to bring laws and rules and bring bills in parliament which are going to protect children, the marginalized, the vulnerable, the women, and make sure that we bring good governance in Kenya, including the issue you've been discussing of inclusivity, is never at the top of the line. And somebody raised an issue saying, I think for me, we may need to go back and start asking ourselves, why have we become this man-eat-man society? Because everything we are doing in this country, we are more looking at ourselves inwards. We are moving to our tribal bases and making sure that even when somebody who obviously happens to be a member of parliament like me, if I've stolen and I'm arrested, then my community must get up and start screaming how they're finishing us. Because we didn't steal. I mean, and anyway, even if we stole, that is what everybody else is doing. So I am pleading with all of you that I think this matter we now need to start looking at in maybe a different way and in a much more complex way. We are a bit too simplistic about looking at the problems that our country has got. And it is true, you told my party leader here, the problem is for Kenya we are only about 12 members of parliament. I can assure you, I don't think that if Jubilee really wanted to pass that bill, under the gender bill, that the guys would refuse not to vote for it. I don't think so. I don't think if for the ODM team, if they had been talked to by the party leadership and told them pass this thing, it would have passed. I mean, we would not have passed it. So yes, we are busy pontificating and talking out here and issuing press conferences and going into funerals and saying we want to make sure that equality and fairness and justice exist in our country, but the reality is that we actually don't mean what we say. So try and figure out. Thank you very much.
This is the point of which I wanted to say to Mheshimiwa, point of order, but I held my horse. Mheshimiwa, I hear you, and it's really great that we are the leaders that, you know, the people chose, but it is the parliamentarians who voted not to have a minimum standard for education. So even as people choose whoever presents themselves, if we had legislated to make sure that we needed a degree at least, then they would have had, so we still bear the biggest responsibility with regards to the people you are describing.
All right, thank you very much. And I'm told I'm out of time, but as the MC said earlier, there's a session for speed dating.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you very much, Ken Mijungu.
Yes, so you will definitely have an opportunity to interact with your leaders.
Yeah.
But as culture demands, if I go home, my mom will punish me. My big brother is here, former chairman, National Youth Council, Bill Mijungu. So if I didn't recognize him, my mom will punish me. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you.
Thank you very much. As we are moving out, ladies and gentlemen, we are heading to the amphitheater. Kule amphitheater inaitwa hot seat. The Senator Wetangula is going to be on the hot seat. The young people, everybody, tuelekee sote kwenye amphitheater. Kule ndio mambo, we're going to take everything else to the amphitheater as we continue. Sasa, tupataneni kule kwa amphitheater tafadhali. There's more action, there's more entertainment, there's more discussion directly with Senator Wetangula and these other leaders. So, asanteni sana. Tupatane kule amphitheater tafadhali.